just want to briefly conclude by calling on the United States Congress to demand of the U.S. Department of Justice that the federal laws against obscenity be vigorously enforced. Our efforts today are not partisan because the protection of children, violence against women, addiction, and sexual trafficking are not partisan issues. Nor are we here today to quarrel with Attorney General Holder. He has in the past indicated his support for the prosecution of obscenity laws. Yet we are asking that the prosecution of obscenity, which seems to be on hold in this administration, be given a high priority because of the widespread harm that we now know that obscene hardcore pornography is causing to America. These harms that you've heard about today, we would not be talking about if the laws against illegal pornography were vigorously enforced. When I left the Department of Justice, as just one example, and that's been 17 years ago when I headed the child exploitation and obscenity section, we could say, along with the law enforcement officers that we've worked with and the child protective agencies that we worked with, that child pornography in America was under control. Sure, there were some child pornographers, but very few. No law enforcement agency today could say that child pornography is under control. We have an explosion of child pornography, and you've heard some of the reasons for that from Dr. Sharon Cooper. When a man goes on the internet and looks at pornography, or a boy goes on the internet and looks at pornography, or a woman, they begin by looking at the softer material. Very quickly you find harder and harder material, and because there's no wall on the internet separating child from adult material, you'll almost immediately begin seeing teenage girls, underage, in hardcore pornography. Because of the way the mind works, as Dr. Cooper said, the mind is never satisfied with what it sees on pornography. It cannot be. And so the person moves to harder and harder material. And many deviate down to child pornography. And that's why you're seeing an explosion of child pornography today, because nothing satisfies. And so they look for harder and harder material. And I could tell you what the law enforcement officers are seeing out there in America today on child pornography. It is frightening. And you have men who have children of their own, young children, who are addicted to child pornography and who will say once arrested, I never thought I would go down this path. It started with the Playboy models on the internet and went from there. There are many things that Congress can do, but we are not asking for new laws. We have enough laws, but we are asking that those laws be vigorously enforced. And there are many things that Congress can do besides that, besides encourage the department. We have a letter circulating on both the House and the Senate to the Attorney General pointing out the harms from pornography and asking that he raise the priority of obscenity prosecutions. We will be visiting every member of the House and Senate and trying to gain them as an ally for the vigorous prosecution of obscenity. We will be asking for hearings in the judiciary committees of both the House and the Senate on the harm from pornography and the necessity to enforce federal obscenity laws. Today is but the first salvo in the war on illegal pornography. Most importantly, we are asking that the United States Congress, the Obama administration, as well as society at large, reconsider the impact that illegal pornography is now having 20 years into the internet age. The U.S. Department of Justice has a criminal division section devoted to the prosecution of obscenity. As I mentioned, I headed that once. There are also 93 United States attorneys, some in every state in the Union, some states have several. And they have offices filled with prosecutors. They're spread throughout the country. Their job is to enforce obscenity law, including obscenity law, excuse me. When they enforce obscenity laws, they help to establish community standards. because obscenity law is necessarily tied up with community standards according to the Supreme Court. You can't just prosecute anything. You can prosecute hardcore pornography, and that jury decides whether that material meets with or is below community standards. When obscenity laws are enforced, they establish community standards, and the department wins virtually every case, because all people in America want to live in a community with high standards. And they'll say that that material that they watch as jurors is below their community standards. When the prosecutor refuses to prosecute, however, that prosecutor is establishing community standards. And that community standards is anything goes. America has had enough of anything goes from the pornography criminals. Now it's time to enforce the law. Thank you very much.